Hey guys, my name's Emily and this is my channel, The Redheaded Ravenclaw. Today I'm going to be doing the Nope book tag, and I'm going to leave the information for the original creator down below. I saw Allie from Hardback Hoarder do this a few days ago, and she's done it before, but she did a redo with books she's read recently, and so I just wanted to do it with my own answers. I've got my laptop here, and so I've got the questions on my laptop, and I'm going to be like reaching around on my bookshelf if I have the book, and if I don't have it, then I'll like insert a picture of the book. So without further ado, here we go with the questions. Question number 1 is a nope ending, a book ending that made you go nope, either in denial, rage, or simply because the ending was crappy. And I have 2 answers for this one. I'll have to reach up here for this one. My first nope ending is Maximum Ride Forever by James Patterson. First of all, because I'm pretty certain this book was heavily ghost-written and the characters are not really like what they were in the first, section of the series, and there's just this plot twist that I hated at the end that just made it not true to the series in my opinion, and I just was really frustrated with it. So that's that one. For one that's a more popular on book 2, I did not like the ending of Sadie. And I think this is pretty common that not a lot of people like it. People either like it a lot or they hate it. And I fall into the category of I did not like it. And I think it was just too vague and left too open. And I don't super love open endings, so I think that's why I didn't love this one. But yeah, it made me say nope. Question number 2 is a nope protagonist, a main character you dislike and drives you crazy. For this one, I'm gonna go with Alina from the Grisha trilogy. That's kind of probably an unpopular opinion as well. Most people tend not to like Mal, but I actually really liked Mal, and I disliked Alina a lot, and I will talk more about her later on in this tag because she's my answer for some other questions too. But I can't stand Alina, so there we go. Question number 3 is a nope series, a series that turned out to be one huge pile of nope after you've invested all of that time and energy on it, or a series you gave up on because it wasn't worth it anymore. For this one, I'm going with the Ugly series by Scott Westerfeld. I absolutely loved this series in middle school and junior high, and I decided I was going to reread it last year. And the Uglies itself, like this first book, is not terrible, but as the series goes on, the main character, Tally, just gets more and more insufferable and like angsty and annoying, and I couldn't even read the final book. And I know it's not, or from what I remember, it's not even really about Tally, but I couldn't do it. And so I have to go with this one. And I hate that I reread one of my favorite series and ended up hating it. That's why I don't reread series that were favorites back in like my young readerhood ages. That was a terrible way to put that, but I think you guys know what I mean. But yeah, I can't stand this series anymore as an adult, so unfortunately this is my nope series. Number 4 is a nope popular pairing, a ship that you don't support. For this one, again, I'm gonna go with Alina and Mal because I really liked Mal. I know he makes some dumb decisions, but I can't stand Alina, so I can't support them. And then here's my thing about ships in the My Hero Academia series. They're 15 years old, and so I just feel weird shipping them from more than like, oh, they'd be cute together later on standpoint. But I can like kind of look past it, and I do have my own ships in the world, but the one of those ships that I don't support in that universe is Todoroki and Deku. I just don't feel like they belong together. I feel like Todoroki is very like, it's too reserved. I don't know how to explain my feelings towards their relationship together, but I just don't see it. I ship other people with Deku more than Todoroki, so I can get into that some later time, but I don't support that shit. Question number 5 is a Nope plot twist. A plot twist that you didn't see coming or didn't like. And for this one, I'm going to go with all of them in The Last Magician. I talked a little bit about this in my July wrap-up that I didn't like this very much. And like, I felt as if the plot twists should have been surprising to me. And I honestly found none of them shocking. And it wasn't that I necessarily saw them coming, but it did feel predictable somehow. And it did feel like right before they were about to happen, I was like, oh, this is gonna happen. Like, and then what I was thinking pretty much happened for most of the plot twists. And so I just, I didn't like them. I feel like I said in my wrap up, I kept comparing this to the Six of Crows duology, and I liked that duology more than this, and so it is inferior to me. So, question number 6 is a Nope protagonist decision or action, a character decision that made you shake your head, nope. For me, that's going to be Felicity's everything, pretty much, in A Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, the sequel to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. She was just kind of a jerk the whole book, and I was kind of expecting like a strong feminist book, and she was just set up really well in Gentleman's Guide, and then when we got to her book in Petticoats and Piracy, she was terrible to her former friend, and just like judging everybody, like girl on girl hate the whole book, and I just didn't like it. Question number 7 is a Nope genre, a genre you will never read. And my initial thought was to go for erotica for this one, but then I was like, oh, almost everybody will probably say that. And so I was watching someone else's video, and I cannot for the life of me remember who else I was watching who else did this. I think it might have been Kat from Paperback Dreams, but I don't know that for sure. But whoever it was mentioned Westerns, and I was like, oh God, I will never ever read Western. So that is my answer. Question number 8 is a Nope book format. A book format you hate and avoid buying until it comes out in a different edition. And with this one, it's mass market paperbacks. I absolutely hate them. I think I own like maybe 2, and I cannot stand them. They're too small, the writing's too small, they don't open very well, and I am all about like floppy paperbacks, and I love hardcovers, and when I'm having to like crunch my pages to be able to read them and hold it this close to my face, I don't want it. Question number 9 is a Nope trope, a trope that makes you go nope. For me, that's like the strong, independent woman character, and who's like, it doesn't always have to be the warrior type, but that's, I think, the most common one. And then she's like that up until the point that she meets a guy or a love interest, and then it all goes out the window, and she can't do anything. She's absolutely useless. I hate that trope so much. I talk about it with my colleague all the time, and we just rant about how this girl is like slaying people and slitting throats and breaking bones, and then the love interest comes in and she's like, woe is me, I can't do anything. And I just really hate it. Question number 10 is a Nope recommendation, a book recommendation that is constantly hyped and pushed at you that you will never read. For me, that is Akatar, or like the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. I don't typically like fairy stories, and I am not a huge fan of retellings, and so my best friend absolutely loves that series, and she keeps trying to get me to read it, and I don't think I'm going to ever. I just have no interest in it. Number 11 is a Nope cliche or pet peeve. A cliche or writing pet peeve that always makes you roll your eyes. For me, I have 2. One of them is the overuse of semicolons, and particularly an example of this I can think of is Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward. And the other one is adults who write teenage characters who don't end up sounding like teenagers. An example of someone who writes teenagers really well, in my opinion, is Becky Albertelli, and I don't know of an example of the problem I hate, like the author writing a teenager that doesn't sound like a teenager off the top of my head, but I can't stand that. It's like, you can just tell sometimes that it's an adult, kind of like when sometimes you can tell that a female character is written by a man. It's in the same vein as that, and those are just, I absolutely can't stand those. Question number 12 is a nope love interest. The love interest that's not worthy of being one, a character you don't think should have been a viable love interest. And I feel like that's kind of harsh, but this should be no surprise, but I'm going with Alina because I can't freaking stand her, so here we go. Number 13 is a nope book, a book that shouldn't have existed that made you say nope. And for this one, I'm going with this awful book called Rainbow Party. I can't even remember who the author is off the top of my head, but I'll put a picture up. I read this book for a challenge last year that was to read a book with really bad ratings, and I found it on thrift books for super cheap, and I bought it, and it was awful. It was really terrible. If you don't know what a rainbow party is, it's this thing where seven girls put on seven different girls put on a shade of lipstick of the rainbows, like one wears red, orange, yellow, green, blue, whatever, and then they get seven guys, and they all or maybe it's just one guy, I don't know, anyway, they all perform oral sex on the guy and then thus form a rainbow on his genitals. So I didn't know that going into the book, but it was a ride. I would not suggest the book. It is very terrible. It has horrible ideals and misogyny and queer baiting and just everything awful. It's there, so I would not suggest picking it up. Number 14 is a nope villain, a scary villain or antagonist you would hate to cross and who would make you run in the opposite direction. And for that one, I'm going with Umbridge because even though Voldemort's ultimately the worst villain in that book, Umbridge is a real human person who is just terrible and manipulative to children and runs with the government in the wrong direction. Excuse me. And she's freaking terrifying. So I would not want to run across that woman ever at any time. Point blank, period. Number 15 is a nope death, a character death that still haunts you. For me, it's gonna be the character death that happens in Orbiting Jupiter by Gary D. Schmidt. I can't really say who it is because I would spoil it, and almost saying that there is a death is spoilery, but this wrecked me. I was sobbing, and this is a really short book. This book is only, let's see, this book is 183 pages long, and it destroyed me. I need to reread it because I love when books make me cry, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. The character death in this made me absolutely lose it. And finally, number 16 is a nope author, an author you had a bad experience reading for and have decided to quit. And for that, I'm going with Ellen Hopkins. I don't have any of her books anymore. I just recently unhauled all of them. I used to have almost all of them. I loved them in junior high. And then I reread a couple of them so I could finish some of the series. And I can't do it anymore. They're too dramatic. They terrible stuff happens in all of them, and I know that you could argue some of it is just showing you what happens in the real life, but everything that could go wrong to these characters does, and it's just harrowing, and it's not something I want to read anymore. And so I've given up on her books, and I don't have any interest in reading them anymore. So yeah, that is the Notebook tag. I am not going to tag anybody just because I am new to BookTube. I don't really know people yet, and this tag is kind of old, and so I feel like if people have that, I feel like the people that have wanted to do it have already done it. But if you're interested in doing this tag, I'll leave the questions down below, and you're more than welcome to do this tag from my recommendation, I guess. And with that, I am going to sign off for the day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.